anyone, I don't have my time. Is anyone can tell me what time it is? Is it time
It-
to, is it showtime?
Showtime.
It's
Rock and roll.
showtime. Well,
Showtime.
first, I am so happy that all of you are here tonight. We have some very, very dear old friends and some very, very dear new friends and new friends to be had. So this is our first event for the C&E committee, and it's our first Food for Thought crossover event. And we are so lucky to be joined by 4 fabulous celebrity optical chefs. And I am very privileged to introduce them and to have them on tonight. The first one, and the most special to my heart, so I apologize to the other chefs, it's my mom, Mimi Friedfeld. So I am thrilled to one of the founders of Clear Vision, and she's coming from Peter's Kitchen in the other room. So I think it's kind of sideways, but we're all there. And the next up is Dr. Millicent Knight from Essilor, and her mom is on too, Ali, and she's also Dr. Ali Knight. So we're thrilled to have both Knights and a couple of dogs. We have Alessandro Barante from Dorigo Rem. So he is our individual male chef for the night, so we are thrilled to have him. And we have Kathy Cruz from Ocular Innovations. On top of all these fabulous chefs, we had a great team of collaboration. We had so much fun making this event, so I'm hoping that you will have fun enjoying the event. So we have Dr. Bianis, who is the inspiration for the whole Food for Thought event, and she will tell us a little about that in a couple of seconds. We have Mary Lanning, Excellence from Xylaware. She's actually made all these adorable pink aprons for all the chefs, and some of the selected guests will be getting additional gifts of that tonight. She actually handcrafted them. They're absolutely adorable.
Oh, adorable.
And we have Rachel Hetler as well on the phone. She has done the collage at the end, and it's helped us in numerous ways. And Rachel is also from Essilor. So with that, I just want to do a little housekeeping. We have a chat function that anyone who has questions for any of the chefs at any time, please put it into the chat. If you love someone and what they're cooking, give a thumbs up or a heart or a reaction like that. So we're gonna get started in just a second, but I also wanted to do a big shout out to the OWA that gave us a lot of support for this. And Tamara Sanders, also from Essilor, was one of our key inspirations for this and has helped us and guide us throughout the whole way. And I am sharing, and I'm going to try to switch. Well, the night would not be complete without thanking our wonderful sponsors. We could not have done that without each and every one of them. The OWA does so much, and if you have not joined them or you don't know much about them, I really recommend that you check them out on their website. They do so much, and they offer so many different ways to connect and interact with each other. They are responsible for fostering female leadership in the optical industry, and they do an outstanding job. And they have so many member services that help you at every different stage of your development. So please, please check them out. And if you want, link in with each one of us on this call, and we'll grow our network starting tonight. So a huge thanks to our sponsors. And with that, I want to turn it over to Dr. Bianis, and she could tell us a little bit about Food for Thought.
Thank you, Liz. Welcome, everyone. I am so happy to see so many different people on this. And as you know, being in the industry, the year 2020 was not that perfect vision that we all anticipated. But those events led to the inspiration of Food for Thought. This platform was created to use food as the common ground to actually connect, bring us all together, and to facilitate conversations and just get to know one another. I too want to say thank you to this team who put so much love in making this a special evening for all of us. As Liz said, we do have our iCare celebrity chefs with us today, from all over the world, and they will be sharing their culture, their family traditions. But also we will be celebrating our mothers and inspirational women in our lives, because we all know that these women are the heart and soul of our families. So let's just get cooking. So next, I would love to introduce our first celebrity chef for the evening, all the way from Russia, cooking up her famous brisket that nurtures our soul. And she is the founder and matriarch of Clear Vision. She is my good friend's mom, Liz. Her name is Chef Mimi Friedfield. So
Yay.
welcome.
Thank you for the opening. And I'm glad that I'm here to share something that has been in my family for 3 generations of incredible women. My grandmother, who was a wonderful, wonderful cook, made brisket for the family. And at that time in Europe, the ingredients that we use today were not available. They used the brisket beef, and they had it with onions and carrots and garlic and tomatoes. And my grandmother brought all her skills from Europe to the United States in the 1900s, early 1900s, when we had the Great Immigration, and taught all her children to cook in the same fashion, with love and caring and honoring tradition. Now we have these dinners at every function, the Jewish holidays of the year. And I'm now going to share my mother's recipe, which she taught me and was updated because we had different ingredients. My mother added ketchup, and she added pepper and salt, and she added a little bit, well, lots of love went into it, and a very, very good piece of meat. And I took it another step, getting wonderful innovations from what I was able to. The family likes Chinese food, so I figured we really like the soy sauce. So I added that to my recipe. I do find I add Lipton onion soup, the packet. I find it has to be Lipton's because it just isn't anything else. And I use Heinz ketchup. Everything, certain manufacturers just do me justice. At first, I take a nice pan and I spray it with avocado oil. You can use any oil you want, just so that it doesn't stick. Light spray, very, very little. Again, I don't measure anything. I'm from the old school that you just feel the recipe and you'll know what to put in. So I take a piece of brisket. First, I line the pan with onions, sliced onions. Oh, a nice amount. I take a whole big onion, and then I take some carrots and throw the carrots in. First of all, it looks very pretty. And you could chop them up, you could make them small. It doesn't matter. Just do what you feel like doing that day. I do make it different. In fact, this year I added mustard to it. And then take the meat and put it right on there. Then I will take, let me see, I think I'll do the mustard first. And I'm taking that, spooning it out, and spreading it all over. And this one, I usually massage my meat. It tenderizes it because we don't use any tenderizers. But the mustard, I sort of don't love the feeling of it. Just put it on a spoon rest. Then I'm gonna take, I put it in a bowl. Here's the garlic. I'm forgot to mention that both my mother and grandmother used the garlic a lot. We sort of love it. And all in. I'm looking for the, here it is. Here's the look. And now comes the fun stage. We're going to, now this is where the love comes in. Just massage the meat, feel and tell it how wonderful it is and how good it's gonna be for your family. And that's a very important step. I'm just gonna rinse my hands 1 minute. And excuse me. Okay. Now I'm gonna take some soy sauce and liberal because you like the flavor. So I'm just putting it in. You know, the size of the meat will determine just how much you put in. Okay, we have now the ketchup, which is somewhat of the crowning glory because it replaces the tomatoes that they used back in the 20th century and in the 18th century and the 19th. It's all good. It goes all around.
Mimi, where do you recommend picking up your brisket?
Excuse me?
Where do you pick up your brisket? What store?
I pick up the brisket usually from either a kosher butcher or, by the way, Costco has very good briskets, which I've tried when I couldn't get near the butcher. Or else in your favorite supermarket, if they know you, just ask them, what's the best cut? And they should give it to you. Now, I'm washing again. I forgot to tell you, I preheat the oven to 350 degrees. I'm pouring in water now. It'll soften some of the veggies so they'll cook. And the gravy comes out really, really delicious.
Mhm.
I always cover it with aluminum foil. Again, here we go.
Mimi, how big is your pan?
Excuse me?
How big is your pan?
This pan is a Pyrex that is, I think, 9 by 12. It's all according to how big the meat is. Many times I've used the disposable ones that are easy to clean because you just toss them. But I do use 2 because the aluminum is not so good, especially if you buy it in the dollar store. But cover it in, then you cook it for a couple of hours. Now, again, this is a field. After about 2 hours, on a small one, 2-3 hours, I take a fork and I prick it. And I see if it's a little bit soft, I take it out, and then I take an electric slicer and slice nice, thin, against the grain of the meat. That's very, very important, because if you go the wrong side, you're just screwing it up.
Do you do it hot, Mom, or cold?
I do it, I cool it down a little, because it's a little bit easier when you're not dealing with very hot meat. Then you could cook it in 2 days, or if you don't have the time, cook it 1 day, slice it, put it back in the gravy, because then it'll soak it up. And the next day, put it in again on a lower. I would put it in for 50 and just let it
Y'all
simmer.
told me y'all had already did
And
it.
you will have
Imagine that. We're
falling
eating it.
off. Well, of course, there's no bone, but it will be falling off the bone. Sucking good. Really, really delicious. And that's what we do for the holidays. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you ever have any problem, just give me a holler and I'll help you out.
When we coming for dinner?
Oh, anytime. I love people. I live in Boca Raton in the winter, East Hampton in the summer. And whenever you want to come, you're welcome. Just
Awesome.
call me and let me know.
Awesome.
You take care.
How
how many people would that one feed that you're making there?
It's all according, this one is the small one that I'm making tonight. It will fit, this one will, about 4 to 6 people.
Perfect.
And it's really, people don't eat that much because you have so many surrounding accompaniments. This piece is about 2.5 pounds of, I think, and it will feed 6. So, any other questions? Again, love
Mimi,
it and love it, and then it'll be delicious.
Mimi, some guy named David said that you're a fantastic mom, just so you know.
Thank you.
Liz, you're on mute.
All right, let's try this one. All right, Mom, thank you so much for that fabulous, fabulous brisket recipe. I know it's my favorite. We make it all the time and I try to copy it, but it's never as good as the original.
Oh, you do. You do. Take care. And you'll give it to your kids too.
I will. And with that, next up is Dr. Knight, the twin Dr. Knight, Dr. Ollie Knight and Dr. Millicent Knight, and they are be cooking soul food from, I know Dr. Knight is in Dallas, and I know I spoke to them the other night to get the secrets of their recipe, and it just sounds amazing. I'm waiting for the hot water cornbread. So if you want to share your secrets and how you make it, I'm sure everyone's going to be delighted as I was.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to be here with my mom, Dr. Ollie Knight. We wrote the recipe out, but we're kind of pinchers. You know what I mean? Pinch of that. But for the benefit of tonight, we really tried to nail down the recipe. I'm a certified health coach, and part of my training talked about primary and secondary food. And primary food is actually not what you consume. Primary food is actually what you take into your mind, your spirit, your heart. All of those wonderful things are just so important to our lives. Secondary food, of course, is that what you consume. So when we talked about doing this, I was really excited about doing it for that reason. Now, as we go through the dishes, I've actually already prepared them, but we can talk a little bit about how we go about making them. And I think I'll start first with the salad. I don't know, what kind of view do you have? Can you see this okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can.
Yeah, looks good.
Utensils. Now this is a kale salad because I am not very good at making greens like my mom. And since she's not here, she would ordinarily have made mustards, collards, right, Mom? Turnips, and you get
Swiss chard and a little dandelion greens in it.
Yeah, all of those have such great nutrition. But I want to go back a little bit in our journey. So soul food originates from a time period when Africans were brought to this country into slavery, and they worked 6 days a week. And the only day that they had free to themselves to really spend time together, socializing, laughing, singing, cooking together was on Sundays. And often it was after church. And so that's a tradition that's sort of been passed on through the generations. What we have done in the Knight family is we have adjusted the soul food, if you will, ingredients to be more reflective of a healthier diet, a healthier palate, and even the way that we cook it is a little bit different. So for instance, I made, I'll start with the salad first, because that's usually what we start with. And I use kale because when it's summertime, we really don't want to eat anything too heavy or hot. So I'll really try and go with something a little bit, lighter. And the kale salad here has, you can see here, the kale first, you start with that. And I clean it really well, even if you get the kale that says it's been washed 2 or 3 times, I wash it again. And then chop it up a little bit. Stems if you don't really like those. And then put some avocado. And I cut the avocado up into little cubes, if you will. And then the key to breaking kale down so that it's not so aggressive, I'll say, is to sort of massage it a little bit with your hands, and then put a little bit more of the olive oil in there. And any olive oil can do, but extra virgin olive oil, drizzle it. So you don't want to soak it. You just want to drizzle a little bit, massage it a little bit more. And then you can use any fruit that you like. I put the strawberries on top there as a garnish, but really I put it there to remind you that you can put whatever fruit that you want. I have chopped Honeycrisp apples in there. I also like to use, particularly if I'm serving individuals who might be vegetarian, nutritional yeast. And I sprinkle a little bit of that. It has sort of a cheese-like consistency, and it has all the B vitamins in it. So if you're not eating meat, you can still get your B vitamins. I also have some craisins here. And then my mother always says that food should not only taste good, but it should look good.
That's right.
I try and do that, right, Mom?
The presentation is important.
Yes. So I like to add seeds, and you can use pepitos or pumpkin seeds, and I just sprinkle them in, but I never put these in ahead of time because you don't want them to get kind of soggy. And then I also, pumpkin seeds really good with magnesium. And then I also use a little bit of flax seeds, and flax seeds, of course, are rich in omega-3 fatty acids and really good for brain, heart, and just so many other things, your eyes. So anyway, voila, salad's done. Bon appetit on that. And then the next thing we'll go to is the ollie sauteed potatoes, I call them, because this is one of my favorites that Mom makes. And I don't know if you can see here, it's kind of a medley of peppers, red peppers, yellow peppers, green peppers, sauteed onions, and sauteed potatoes with fresh garlic.
Show us that a little closer. Could you show us that in the camera? I see you close up. We'd love to see it.
Let's see, and maybe if I walk around to this camera, you can see it a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that looks better. Yeah.
Yeah, so the key with this is you slice the potatoes really thin. I actually saved a few that I didn't finish yet. You slice them really thin, and then you slice ringlets, if you will, of the peppers. And again, with the peppers, you're getting your antioxidants in, lutein and zeaxanthin for your eyes. So you've got the pepper, got the garlic, which is a natural antimicrobial, fresh garlic. On that, I put that in a little bit later so that it doesn't lose its potency. And your onions also are natural antimicrobial. So it's a great combination. It's healthy for you. And then it also has turmeric and black pepper. And turmeric, is anti-inflammatory. It also works with the regulating the blood sugars, and it's is increased when you add black pepper to it. So again, put a little bit of a pinch, and back to pinching. Food should be seasoned on both sides from my perspective. So we're all set on that. Now,
One thing, Millie, is sometimes we put cayenne in there because I like food spicy.
yes, Mom, food spicy. I like food spicy too, but she really likes food spicy. So, but it's really good. Now I want to go to the chicken. Now we don't fry chicken usually anymore. What we do is we take Corningware, and then we put the chicken, and you need to make sure you season it well on both sides. And then you can dredge it through a little bit of flour or not. And then or drizzle a little bit on. And then you set the oven to 350. I preheat it also. And then you keep it in there for about 45 minutes. You don't want to keep it in much longer, right, Mom? Because it will start to get kind of dry if you do.
Yeah, 45 is usually good.
Okay. So I'm going to bring this a little bit closer, and you can see that it's got a nice crispy texture to it.
Ooh.
Beautiful.
That looks great.
My mom always garnishes food, so I learned it from her. And then I think, last but not least, this is something that you've probably may not be the healthiest thing for you, but it's really good. And it's very simple. It's called hot water cornbread. And I think that this different, a little bit different than some of the corn muffins that you make. We did not always have access, you know, in the 1800s and so to the appropriate muffin pans and things like that. But people wanted to make something that was filling for them, and that you didn't have to, all you needed really was a pot and some hot oil. Now they used sometimes oils that we don't use today. And sometimes people use bacon grease with it. But I use coconut oil with the medium chain fatty acids. They are basically good for your skin, good for your heart. And that's a particular oil, although it's a fat oil, it doesn't stay in your system. Your body uses it and releases it. So it's a good one to use, and I mix it with canola oil. And then you have to get right, Mom, you have to get it really hot, right? The skillet
It has to be boiling hot. Or it will
And-
not work.
You take just cornmeal and a little pinches of salt to your taste, and I just sort of stir it together. And then you have to get the water boiling hot, like Mom said, and you pour it in and stir at the same time. And then when you get the consistency just right, then you just kind of shape it a little bit and then just drop it in the skillet. And for about 3 to 5 minutes on each side, and it's all done. And I'll show you, you can eat it just plain, or some people like to add honey to it, or maybe, I'm gonna bring this a little bit closer. My son likes a little bit of maple syrup. So you can see it's lightly browned. And then you can just drizzle a little bit of the syrup, if you like it, on there. And you want to eat these when they're fresh out of the skillet and nice and piping hot. So,
Let me add to the cornbread, the hot water cornbread. When I was a child, we didn't have the maple syrup and all that. We had saga molasses, ribbon cane molasses on the hot water cornbread,
yeah, here we go.
Oh.
which it was not as healthy as the maple syrup and the honey.
So we have a couple comments. I don't see any questions, but I see a lot of, I'm getting hungry.
Come on over.
We're headed your way, Millie. After Mimi's, we're going to your house.
I would like to know, Ollie, do you prefer the coconut oil or do you like the bacon grease?
No, now I prefer the coconut oil because the bacon grease, as she mentioned, is just not healthy. So when you know better, you do better. And when I was coming up as a child, bacon grease was very handy because we ate a lot of bacon. But no, now I just don't do that. It's just not good for your body. And the coconut oil works just perfect with a little canola with it.
Thank you, Dr. Knights. That was wonderful. Looks all delicious. It's San Diego, California. It's 5 o'clock, so I am really getting hungry. So,
Wish you could have some.
Beverly.
I know. Well, next up is our chef from Italy. And he has been so busy traveling the world that he is making a special appearance with us today from his Chicago hotel. So he will be sharing Mama Rita's Chapino with us today. He is a friend and favorite in this industry. He is the CEO and president of Diego. Please welcome my friend, Chef Alessandro Burante.
Yeah.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you, everybody. I am truly honored to be part of this amazing team and to be the male chef tonight, surrounded by beautiful women. So thank you for having me. And the recipe that I'm going to share tonight was actually passed on to me by my beautiful mother, Rita. You guys can see it in the picture. She was 17 when I was born, and as a young mother, you know, she's not only my mother, but she's also my best friend. And she's in Italy, and we haven't seen each other for a year and a half or so. I'm gonna give you this recipe from her to all of you, and as a gift coming from her. As I grew up, she made this recipe on a regular basis, and as a tradition, is a dish that we eat on Friday in Italy, and I make it all the time. And every time that I make it, I think of her. To this next slide, please.
Oh,
Liz?
sorry, I was in the other room.
Oh, it's okay. So the cioppino is also known as caciucco. Caciucco in Italy, known as cioppino in the United States, is an ancient recipe from Livorno. Livorno is a coastal town in Tuscany. It's about 1.5 hours from Florence, and this was a recipe that back in the days was created because there was no much meaning right before and after the wars, and so it was a recipe pretty much made with the leftovers, and leftover of seafood as a mix of different type of seafood to come up with an amazing seafood stew, and before you know it, it became a recipe that is well known all around the world. And if we can go to the next slide. This is the ingredient that I use when I make this dish for 8 people. And obviously you can downsize the ingredient based on how many people you're cooking for. In terms of seafood and all of the ingredients, I like to prepare everything before I start to cook the dish. I like to have everything in front of me because I like to move fast as I cook. I don't like to burn or overcook the ingredient as the recipe is done in different steps. So when it comes to the ingredient, I like to use 3 pounds of between octopus, halibut, sea bass, and calamari. And you can substitute this ingredient, but I suggest you to stay with the salt water type of seafood because, believe it or not, it gives a completely different flavor if you mix the fresh water and the salt water. And I like to use 2 pounds of mussel and clams and 1 pound of shrimp. And I like the lobster tails. So if I'm doing an 8 serving, you want to give 1 lobster tail to every guest, right? You don't want to leave somebody without a lobster tail. But if you prefer, you can substitute with crab legs, Alaskan crab legs, whatever is your favorite. And 3 cloves of garlic minced, and 1.5 cups of bell pepper, 2 cups of red wine. And the doctor didn't say how big the cups of red wine. So if you want to use the very big cups, you can do that. It will add flavor to the dish. 1 spoon of tomato paste. It's very important to use the concentrate because it gives a boost to the flavor of the recipe. 1 chopped onion. I like to use the white onion because it's not as strong as the red onion. 1 bunch of parsley, and I like to chop it and be ready there. And 1 28-ounce can of mature tomatoes. You can use different brands. As you can see in the picture, I like to use the Italian brands. And 2 cups of tomato juice, 1 bouquet of herbs that I also like not to chop, but to cut in little pieces, probably 1.5 inches of length. And 2 cups of fish stocks, very important also to give a boost of flavor. 6 large slices of Italian bread, and I want you to cut it very thick, I would probably say about 1.5 inches, very nice and thick, and then I will tell you what to do with that. And 1/2 cup of olive oil. Olive oil is very important. If you want to know the secret of the Mediterranean diet, because when I go to Italy, my mom feeds me at every hour, and I come back to US and I'm always losing 3 or 4 pounds. And I always ask myself, how is this possible? What the secret, don't tell to anybody, I'm going to tell you the secret is you want to substitute the butter in everything that you're cooking with olive oil. And if you do that, you're going to see a huge difference in how leaner the dish is going to be. 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of black pepper and 2 teaspoons of hot salts. I like to use Tabasco salts, but I'll leave it up to you to use whatever ingredient you like. Let's move to the next slide.
Alessandro, what type of red wine do you like to use?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I like the Rosso di Montalcino, and my favorite is the Brunello, but you don't want to use the $150 bottle to cook, so I use the Rosso, which is about 1/3 of the price, and is as good as the Brunello.
I don't think I want to use the 1/3 of the price.
Well, wine is important, and it's also very important to have an extra glass of wine as you're cooking, because you want to keep it going, right? So that's very important. It's also important to prepare the food before you actually cook it. So I like to cut all of the seafood, the octopus, the calamari in pieces, and the halibut and sea bass, I like to cut it in 8 pieces, so everybody gets a piece as you serve it. And I also like to steam the mussel and the clams in a I actually have a steamer to be able to do that. And that's important because what it does as you steam the mussel and the calamari, you're going to see that after 10 minutes, they're going to start to open up. And what you want to do, you want to remove the one that they don't open, because if they don't open, are bad. And you don't want to do a stew with a bad clams or mussel, because they will spoil the entire soup. And when you eat them steam, you usually skip over the one that they're not opening. But if you actually have them cook, it can be dangerous. So I want you to remove the one that actually they do not naturally open. Do not try to force and open them. Just remove them and toss them away. And you want to rinse the lobster tail very well, and then put all of the seafood in front of you. Let's go to the next slide. Now we want to prepare the base. So to be able to prepare the base, I want you to use a large pot. And in that pot, you're gonna pour the olive oil, and you want to saute the onion with the garlic. And if you want to use a little bit of bell pepper, you can do that as well. Cook them until they get blonde. Make sure that they do not burn. With the garlic and the onion, you can burn that virtually in a few seconds. So especially if you're using a gas stove, which has a tendency to cook faster, be very careful in this step. You don't want to burn the garlic and the onion, because it's going to give a completely different flavor to the dish. Let's go to the next. So now we prepare the soup. So you move everything to a large pot. I like to use a kind of a taller pot with a cover, and you add to the base. You start to add the tomato and the tomato juice, the stock, the paste, the red wine, the herbs bouquet, the salt and pepper, the hot sauce, the fish stock, and then you start to add, as a warm-ups, you start to add all of the seafood, and bring it to a simmer and cook for about 40 minutes until you see a significant reduction in the actual liquid. You're going to see that the tomato sauce from red is going to start to change color. It's going to kind of start to change the density of the color, as you see in the picture. Is going to start to become orange. That's a very good sign. Cook for 30 minutes, then add the lobster tails, the shrimp and the mussel, the clams. Cook for another 20 minutes until you notice a significant reduction of the liquid. And if it seems dry, too dry, add some water to keep the cooking time. When it's done cooking, right at the end, you want to sprinkle on the top the chopped parsley. You want to do it at the end. You don't want to cook the parsley. You want to do it at the end, like virtually 5 minutes before the dish is ready. Let's go to the next one. Now, at this point, in the meantime, you're going to prepare the bread, and you put it in the oven. You make it nice and crispy. And then the secret of the bread, when you take it off the oven, you take a nice piece of garlic and you start to brush it on the bread. And it gives that nice flavor to the bread, okay? And then if we go to the next slide, the way that I want you to prepare the dish, you take 2 pieces of bread for every plate. I suggest you to use a very nice plate that has a nice depth. You put the bread at the bottom of the plate. And then on the top of that, you start to pour the seafood, and make sure that you give it to each guest the right mix of ingredients. Don't put 2 lobsters tail in one dish and one in another. And then after that, you want to pour the juice of the cioppino on the top of that, and don't let it sit for too long. As soon as it's ready, start to serve those plates to the guests, because you want to eat it as it's warm, and you don't want the bed you want the bed to stay nice and warm and crispy, and you enjoy it, just like that.
Alessandra, Jessica says that she hopes you bring some to the office the next time you make it.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro.
Thank you. Thank you. Any question, let me know.
Any questions? Liz,
So
are you?
yes, no, I have no questions. I thought I was talking. I am so sorry, but that was absolutely spectacular. What a labor of love. It was a feast for the eyes and definitely for the stomach. It's beautiful. And now we have my favorite part of the meal, which is dessert. I recently, truth be told, we went to an outing and I started with my dessert before I got to the food. So, Kathy Cruz is up from Ocular Innovations, and she's going to be teaching us how to make tres leches. So take it away, Kathy.
Thank you. Well, I can tell you this after listening to Millie and everybody else, mine's not healthy. So we get to pull it up at the end and we're just gonna make, so I already made the cake, and this cake tends to, hold on, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Yeah, can hear you. Hold on.
Believe it or not, the Tres Leches cake is 3 ingredients: eggs, sugar, and cake flour. So it tends to be a little bit drier, similar to, I grew up, my nana, my mom's mom always served us pan dulce. And if anybody had pan dulce, Mexican sweet bread, it's a dry bread. I know when my husband had it for the first time, he's like, this is so dry. But we all loved it. And growing up, then my mom had heard about the Tres Leches cake and she started making it. And so also because of just the 3 ingredients, it can be dry. But the key component to add to the moisture, and one of the things, this is why the Tres Leches came about, was adding the different milk. So you use condensed milk, whipping cream, and evaporated milk, along with vanilla extract, and of course the rum extract. And you mix those together and you brush it onto the cake after you poke holes in the cake, and you brush it onto the cake after the cake is baked and it's cooled, and it absorbs. And believe it or not, the recipe calls it's over almost 2.5 cups of liquid that goes on this small cake, but the cake just absorbs it in. And then we top it with a whipped cream frosting. So I'm gonna do that now and add the frosting. It's just whipping cream and a little bit of sugar. And because the sweetness is so much in the cake, the whipping cream, I don't add a lot of sugar. I do it to taste, so it's not too sweet. And for those of you that like it really sweet, you could add more sugar. But I tend to use less sugar, and it's just a little bit more of the flavor of the whipping cream. Just cover the cake.
Kathy, we have a question. Can you use regular flour if you don't have cake flour?
You can use regular flour. It just tastes a little bit more denser with the cake flour. I've done it with both because I don't always have cake flour on hand.
I didn't even know there was a cake flour.
Yes, there is. Pillsbury makes it. And I used to work for Pillsbury, so I know that. Not too many of the companies make a cake flour. And if you checked your flour last year for anything, you would have never been able to get it because everybody was baking and cooking at home.
Kathy, how long do you have to soak the cake with all the milk?
So you so once it cools and you cook it, after you put it in, you put it in the refrigerator for 2 hours. So I did it this afternoon and then I soaked it for 2 hours. Like I said, I do it on the sides. Now, you can make it with caramel topping, and that's how my grandma used to make it, but then my mom started making it with fresh fruit. So during the spring, especially around Mother's Day, we use it with fresh strawberries. So then just put fresh strawberries around the cake. And if anybody know, the desserts are always the highlight, right? Want to do it, it's how it looks. I think Ollie said it's about the presentation and what it looks like at the end, because that's the final plate at the end of the day. It's your end of your dessert. Have it with coffee, have it with my grandma used to have it with a cup of brandy. My Nana loved her brandy, so she had it with brandy. And then I always add just a couple whole strawberries in the middle of the cake, and then there's the cake. So again, very simple. The key is the consistency when you're making it. With the cake flour, you separate your egg whites, and having the eggs made at kept at room temperature before you start doing it. And you start with mixing it with a mixer, and a lot of it's made just by folding in the egg whites and then folding in the sugar in rather than mixing. So you don't want to cook it too much, because then it gets really, really thick, and then it won't separate and have the air bubbles in it, because you need the air in any type of cake that you're baking. So that is our tres leches cake. So the 3 milks are the one that makes it and makes it the tasty cake. And thank you for having me.
Kathy, no one has taste tested their food yet. No one's taken a bite.
Okay.
I know. I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this, but it looks really good.
I will do a bite. Yeah. Hold on.
A good point on the chat. I don't know if everybody saw it, but after the event, everyone is going to get a copy of all the recipes featured tonight. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll send those out after the event.
Actually, everyone should have gotten them already. They were sent out, but we could send them out again, because
Well, I
we
can
never
get
have too many. And we have some late registrants, so you will all get it again.
Can you send them to the co-host?
I'm just
Absolutely.
There you
All
go.
right, Kathy, how does it
How is
taste?
it?
So thank you so much for having me. It was an honor, and this was a great fun event.
You make it look so easy and delicious.
Thank you.
Mary, I think you have something to tell everyone right now. Another surprise.
Surprise, we're going to give some stuff away. So thanks everyone for joining tonight. And Liz, we also want to thank you for taking the time to moderate this and host this for us. This has been great. So tonight we're going to do a spin the wheel and give away 2 different gifts. So let me share my screen. Liz, do you have
Yes.
the wheel?
I'm sorry.
Do you have the wheel?
I don't have the wheel, but I can get it for you, Mary.
Let me see if I can. I had it pulled up too.
Did you guys want to mention
Well,
that?
I'm going to show what we're going to give while Mary gets this. Mary gets the gift and the spin the wheel.
Perfect.
So Mary, what do we have for our lovely winners tonight?
So we're going to draw 2 names with the spin the wheel, and the winners are going to get the choice of one of the books featured. And I'll let Rachel talk about the books here in just a moment, and these adorable little chick measuring cups. So Rachel, do you want to give a little overview on the books they have the options of?
Yeah, we picked 2 books. One is Bibi's Kitchen, which features a bunch of different African women. Bibi is the term for grandmother, and it features recipes and stories of the women in their countries. And then the Together cookbook was created after the Grenfell fire in London a couple years back with the Hub Community Kitchen, and it features 50 different recipes. Each is done by a woman from all over different countries, just featuring familial recipes, and just each book is different communities coming together, all done by women and supporting their communities.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Liz,
Here we
Mary,
go. We have a wheel.
it's not coming up.
Oh,
You
no.
have
Mary,
up?
Mary, would you like to mention that about your aprons and also, the first 30 registered guests are going to be receiving these aprons as well that
Yes.
are on the call today too.
Yes, we are going to be sending out, we'll be reaching out via email. And so those of you that registered early, I'll be reaching out to get your address because you're going to get one of these adorable aprons.
And here's the spin.
Oh,
Marie Cortinas, is she on? Do we have Marie? Can you say hello if you're on? Liz,
No,
you-
Marie, spin again.
Spin it again.
Yay!
I'm not going to say that name right. I'm from Texas.
Elodie.
Elodie.
It's just a
Elodie.
French name. You can do it. It's Elodie.
Elodie.
It's Melody Noam. It's easy to say.
I never say that. It's
Hey, Elodie.
Congratulations, Elodie.
Great,
It was
Elodie.
the best meeting ever since a year at least.
Well, we'll be reaching out and you get to pick your book and you're going to receive those cute little measuring
That's
cups.
very sweet. Thank you so
for
much.
joining.
and we have one more. Let's go again.
Deb,
Fire!
Deb.
I love to cook. And,
Yes.
and I've actually made the Chiappino. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Yay, Debbie.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone. Thanks for joining. This has been awesome.
Liz, Beverly, Mary, you guys, this was awesome. This was great. Beverly, your inspiration to do this over last year when we talked about it on our committee, it was awesome. And this has been great. So hopefully we'll all get to see each other in the fall or sometime soon, but this was awesome.
Yes, and Food for Thought has been going over now almost half the year. And if you haven't seen our president's video for Food for Thought, please tune in because it was a great video on her Greek Easter cookie. And if you're interested in being featured in Food for Thought, please reach out to me and we will see you on a video soon. So.
Beverly,
Liz.
thank you so much. It was so much fun. And this was such a great event and such a great evening. Thank you to everyone. Really
We want to
lovely.
Thank everyone for
Thank you.
joining us tonight. We want to wish everyone a wonderful Mother's Day or a lovely weekend with anyone that they love. We are thrilled that you joined us tonight. We really feel honored. We hope you enjoyed it and had some fun, learned something new. I learned lots of new tricks, especially expensive wine and what I should drink next time.
And it's all about the presentation.
Yes, presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
Love to everyone.
Fantastic.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
I never can end these meetings.